Israel.
Israel table of contents.
All about Israel, including Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa, with visiting and touring information, geography, history, attractions, and other points of interest.
Dr. Sydney Soclof. Dr. Sydney22@gmail.com. 2023. Narration by Dr. Sydney Soclof.
Zoe Phonemes.
And Nathan Koltov. For a more complete discussion of YouTube navigation, please go to this video using the link here.
Chapter 1. Israel. Israel. Israel.
The Star of David is in the center of the flag of Israel. The official name of the country is the State of Israel, or in Hebrew, Medinat Yisrael.
The emblem of Israel is the seven-branched candelabrum that dates from biblical times, 4,000 years ago.
Chapter 2. Where's Israel?
Israel is in Southwest Asia, near the continent of Africa.
It is part of the Middle East, also referred to as the Near East, at the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea. Israel is bounded to the north by Lebanon, to the northeast by Syria, to the east and southeast by Jordan, to the southwest by Egypt, and to the west by the Mediterranean Sea.
Also adjacent to Israel are the West Bank to the east, and the Gaza Strip to the southwest.
Further out from Israel are the Middle Eastern countries of Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, the UAR, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. Jerusalem is the country's capital, the seat of government, and the largest city. Israel's second largest city and main financial center is Tel Aviv. The third largest city and biggest port is Haifa.
The two major ports of Israel are Haifa in the north and Ashdod in the south. Israel is a small country with a relatively diverse topography, consisting of a lengthy coastal plain, highlands in the north and central regions,
and the Negev Desert in the south. In the north are the rolling hills of the Galilee.
Running the length of the country, from north to south along its eastern border, is the northern terminus of the Great Rift Valley. The Great Rift Valley extends from the Sea of Galilee in the north, through the valley of the Jordan River, the Dead Sea, and down to the Gulf of Aqaba in the south.
This shows the Great Rift Valley. The Great Rift Valley is a name given in the late 19th century by British explorer John Walter Gregory to the continuous geographic trench,
approximately 6,000 kilometers, 3,700 miles, in length that runs from northern Syria in southwest Asia to central Mozambique in southeast Africa. The principal river of the region is the Jordan. The Jordan River is 156 miles, or 250 kilometers long, flowing from the mountains in Lebanon to the Dead Sea. Currently, the river serves as the eastern border of the State of Israel and the Palestinian territories. In the Christian tradition, Jesus was baptized in the Jordan River by John the Baptist. The Kingdom of Jordan takes its name from this river. Israel is the world's only predominantly Jewish state, with a population of about 9.5 million people, of whom approximately 7 million are Jewish.
The largest ethnic minority group is the Arab citizens of Israel. while minority religious groups include Muslims, Christians, Druze, Samaritans and others, most of which are found within the Arab segment.
The modern state of Israel has its historical and religious roots in the biblical land of Israel, Eretz Yisrael, a concept central to Judaism since ancient times, and the heartland of the ancient kingdoms of Israel and Judah. Over the past 3,000 years, the name Israel has had two meanings. The common usage refers to the land of Israel, a geographical entity.
The other usage is religious in nature, referring to the entire Jewish people. According to the Bible, Jacob was renamed Israel after successfully wrestling with an angel of God. Chapter 3. Points of interest in Israel.
Jerusalem sites.
Jerusalem, or in Hebrew, Yerushalayim.
This shows the location of Jerusalem. From the Mediterranean Sea at Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is 45 miles, or a little over 1 hoop by road. Map Jerusalem https://www.orangesmile.com/img_city_maps/Jerusalem-map-point.
Here is a map of Jerusalem showing the location of some of the points of interest that we will discuss. Going from left to right, we have Yad Vashem, Mount Herzl, the Herzl Museum, the model of ancient Jerusalem, the Israel Museum, the Knesset, Zion Square, the Old City including the Temple Mount, the Mount of Olives, and Mount Scopus.
Here is a map of Jerusalem, showing the location of some of the points of interest that we will discuss. Going from left to right we have Yad Vashem, Mount Herzl, the Herzl Museum, the model of ancient Jerusalem, the Israel Museum, the Knesset, Zion Square, the Old City including the Temple Mount, the Mount of Olives, and Mount Scopus. Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, is in the heart of the country, nestled among the Judean hills. Jerusalem's ancient stones, imbued with millennia of history, and its numerous historical sites, shrines and places of worship attest to its meaning for Jews, Christians and Muslims. In this map of the Old City of Jerusalem, we see the location of some of the highlights. Of special interest is the Temple Mount with the Dome of the Rock, Al-Aqsa Mosque in the Western Wall, previously known as the Wailing Wall.
Here is a detail of the Old City showing the close proximity of the shrines of three faiths: Jewish, Christian, and Muslim.
Here is the Jerusalem vicinity including nearby Bethlehem.
This is the Old City of Jerusalem.
This shows the Old City of Jerusalem and the surrounding walls. The Old City is divided into the Jewish, Christian, Armenian, and Muslim quarters, and the Temple Mount, and is surrounded by the remnants of the Old City wall.
Chapter 6. On the Temple Mount are the Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Western Wall. The Temple Mount is the historical site for both the first temple built by King Solomon, as well as the second temple built by the returning exiles from Persia.
Later, King Herod, the builder, renovated the Temple Mount in such a way that the temple was on a raised platform, of which many of the stones are still standing today, and created what was described by a political enemy of Herod's in this way: one who has not seen the Temple of Herod has not seen a beautiful building. This shows the Temple Mount with the Dome of the Rock and the Kotel, or Western Wall. The Western, or Wailing Wall, is one of Israel's biggest tourist attractions. At all hours of the day or night, Visitors stream to the wall to pray, to take photographs,
to participate in a demonstration or an army swearing-in ceremony, to attend a bar mitzvah, or just to absorb some of the historical and spiritual atmosphere of the ancient site.
This is all that remains of the old temple Herod built. It is actually the second temple in Jerusalem. The temple took 48 years to build and was destroyed 6 years later.
The first temple in Jerusalem was built by King Solomon, then rebuilt by Micah and Nahum, and the second was built by Herod the Great.
The Jews pray at the Western Wall because it is the closest where the Holy of Holies is believed to have been in the temple.
The Kotel, or Western Wall, is the holiest place in Judaism. It is the custom to write prayers on small pieces of paper and stick them into the cracks in the wall.
The best time to go is Friday at dusk when there is a special Sabbath celebration, or on holy days. Note that photography is not allowed at either service. Visitors to the Kotel should take care to wear proper covering. This includes head covering for men, and women must cover their arms. Also, visitors should remember that this is a holy religious site and act appropriately.
The Dome of the Rock, Al-Haram al-Sharif, is in the Old City's Muslim quarter. This is the world's third holiest shrine in Islam, after the Kaaba in Mecca and the tomb of the Prophet in Medina.
The Dome of the Rock signifies the spot where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended into heaven.
In 70 AD, the Romans destroyed the temple, which stood on the Temple Mount. The result was that the Temple Mount lay in ruins until the time of the Caliph Omar, 1638 AD, when he was told of the significance of the location.
Caliph Omar then built a small wooden mosque, which later became the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It is advised not to bring any sort of religious paraphernalia with you unless you are Muslim, because any praying or Bible reading is forbidden for anyone but Muslims on the Temple Mount.
Chapter 7. Christian Sites in the Old City. The Via Dolorosa, Latin for Way of Grief or Way of Suffering, is a street, in two parts, within the Old City of Jerusalem, held to be the path that Jesus walked, carrying his cross, on the way to his crucifixion.
This is the route from the Antonia Fortress to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
The winding route from the Antonia Fortress west to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is a distance of about 600 meters or 2,000 feet. It is a celebrated place of Christian pilgrimage.
Since the late 15th century, the route consisted of 14 stations of the cross. Today the current route, established in the 18th century, replaces various earlier versions.
Now it is marked by 9 stations of the cross on the Via Dolorosa, with the remaining 5 stations being inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
The Church of the Holy Sepulchre, also called the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre, or the Church of the Resurrection by Eastern Christians, is a church within the Christian quarter of the walled Old City of Jerusalem. Built in the 4th century over the site of a Roman pagan temple, this is considered one of the world's holiest shrines to Christians, preserving the most important moments of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. The site is venerated by many Christians as Golgotha, or the Hill of Calvary, where the New Testament says that Jesus was crucified, and is also said to contain the place where Jesus was buried, known as the Sepulchre.
The church has been an important pilgrimage destination since at least the 4th century, as the purported site of the death and resurrection of Jesus.
Today the Church of the Holy Sepulchre also serves as the headquarters of the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem.
While control of the building is shared between several Christian churches and secular entities, in complicated arrangements essentially unchanged for centuries. The reticule of the Holy Sepulchre, or the tomb of Christ, with the dome of the rotunda visible above.
Roman Catholic clergy hold candles as they circle the reticule during the Holy Thursday Easter procession at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem's Old City.
Christian believers around the world mark the solemn period of Easter in celebration of the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Christians traditionally believe the church is built on the site where Jesus was crucified and buried.
The garden tomb is a natural garden that has been fed for thousands of years, watered by underground springs, and said to be the place where Jesus was buried.
This is the Notre Dame de Sion Ecce Homo convent. Ecce Homo is the first station of the cross on Via Dolorosa. It is managed by a sisters' convent from Europe. It is where Pilate presented Jesus to the mob and said, "Behold the man," and where the Romans tortured Jesus and made sport of him.
In Christian tradition, based on Acts 1:13, the upper room was not only the site of the Last Supper, that is, the cenacle, but the usual place where the apostles stayed in Jerusalem, and according to the Catholic Encyclopedia, was the first Christian church. Thus, the cenacle is considered the site where many other events described in the New Testament took place, such as the washing of the feet, some resurrection appearances of Jesus,
the gathering of the disciples after the ascension of Jesus, the election of Saint Matthias as apostle, and the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the disciples on the day of Pentecost. The word cenacle is a derivative of the Latin word cena, which means dinner. The Mount of Olives is a mountain ridge east of Jerusalem's Old City in East Jerusalem. It is named for the olive groves that once covered its slopes. Jesus gave an end-time prophecy at this location.
The Mount of Olives is associated predominantly with Jewish and Christian traditions, but also contains several sites important in Islam.
The Mount of Olives is associated with many events in Jesus' life, including ascending to heaven, Chapel of Ascension, and teaching his disciples the Lord's Prayer, the Pater Noster, or Our Father. The mount has been used as a Jewish cemetery for over 3,000 years and holds approximately 150,000 graves. Mount Herzl is a memorial park and cemetery that is the final resting place of Theodor Herzl, the founder of political Zionism, and other noted leaders, including Golda Meir, Levi Eshkol, and Yitzhak Rabin.
The Garden of Gethsemane is a garden at the foot of the Mount of Olives, and is the place where, according to the Gospels, Jesus and his disciples are said to have prayed the night before the crucifixion. This beautiful garden among a grove of olive trees is thought to be the place where Jesus particularly enjoyed prayer and contemplation.
The Church of All Nations, also known as the Church or Basilica of the Agony, is a Roman Catholic church located on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, next to the Garden of Gethsemane.
The Church of All Nations was built at Gethsemane in 1924. It features interior domes decorated with mosaic symbols of the countries that contributed to its construction.
The Church of All Nations enshrines a section of bedrock, known as the Rock of Agony, located at the altar, where Jesus is said to have prayed before his arrest. Mark 14:32-42.
Chapter 8. The Knesset is the legislature of Israel, located in Jerusalem. This is a view of the Knesset in Jerusalem. The Israel Museum in Jerusalem is one of Israel's most important cultural institutions, and houses the Dead Sea Scrolls, along with an extensive collection of Judaica and European art.
Comprising nearly 50,000 square meters, and a 6-acre sculpture garden. The Israel Museum complex features an impressive variety of collections from prehistoric archaeology to contemporary art.
This is a model of biblical Jerusalem at the Israel Museum. The Shrine of the Book is a uniquely designed building on the grounds of the museum that houses the Dead Sea Scrolls and artifacts discovered at Masada. The Dead Sea Scrolls consist of about 900 documents, including texts from the Hebrew Bible, discovered between 1947 and 1956, in 11 caves, in and around the Qumran Wadi. This is near the ruins of the ancient settlement of Khirbet Qumran, on the northwest shore of the Dead Sea. The majority of the Dead Sea Scrolls collection is in the Shrine of the Book. The texts are of great religious and historical significance, as they include some of the only known surviving copies of biblical documents made before 100 BC, and preserve evidence of late Second Temple Judaism.
The scrolls are written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, mostly on parchment, with some written on papyrus. These manuscripts generally date between 150 BC to 70 AD.
This is the Paul Hotel in Jerusalem, on King George Street.
This is the breakfast area of the Paramonim Hotel in Jerusalem.
This is a bird's-eye view of the Mount Zion Hotel in Jerusalem.
These are the breakfast and lobby areas of the Mount Zion Hotel in Jerusalem.
This is the breakfast area of the Mount Zion Hotel. These are IDF soldiers in Jerusalem.
This is the Jerusalem Light Rail. This is the Malha Mall in Jerusalem. This is the Malha Mall in Jerusalem.
Israel's National Holocaust Museum, Yad Vashem, is the world's leading national Holocaust memorial and museum.
Yad Vashem houses the world's largest archive of Holocaust-related information and holds more than 55 million documents.
Yad Vashem is Israel's official memorial to the Jewish victims of the Holocaust established in 1953.
The name Yad Vashem comes from a biblical verse, "And to them will I give in my house, and within my walls a memorial, and a name, Yad Vashem, that shall not be cut off." Isaiah chapter 56, verse 5.
Chapter 9. Bethlehem is a Palestinian city located in the central West Bank, and approximately 8 kilometers, or 5 miles south of Jerusalem, with a population of about 30,000 people. It is the capital of the Bethlehem Governorate of the Palestinian National Authority, and a hub of Palestinian culture and tourism.
The Hebrew Bible identifies Bethlehem as the city David was from, and the location where he was crowned as the King of Israel.
The New Testament identifies Bethlehem as the birthplace of Jesus of Nazareth. The town is inhabited by one of the oldest Christian communities in the world, although the size of the community has shrunk due to immigration.
The Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem is one of the oldest continuously operating churches in the world. The Church of the Nativity is built over the place that tradition marks as the birthplace of Jesus of Nazareth, and thus it is considered sacred by Christians. The Grotto of the Nativity is an underground cave located beneath the basilica. It enshrines the site where Jesus is said to have been born.
The exact spot is marked beneath an altar by a 14-pointed silver star, set into the marble floor and surrounded by silver lamps. Chapter 10. The Galilee.
This is the Galilee region in northern Israel. It is especially noted for many sites associated with Jesus.
The Sea of Galilee, also Kinneret, or Lake Tiberias, is the largest freshwater lake in Israel. It is approximately 53 kilometers, or 33 miles in circumference, about 21 kilometers or 13 miles long, and 13 kilometers or 8 miles wide.
The Sea of Galilee is 211 meters, or 693 feet below sea level, making it the lowest freshwater lake on Earth and the second lowest lake after the Dead Sea, a saltwater lake.
The Sea of Galilee is fed partly by underground springs, although its primary source is the Jordan River, which flows from north to south. This is the Mount of Beatitudes. Jesus delivered the Sermon on the Mount from this hill.
In 2000, Pope John Paul II celebrated the Eucharist on its slope. There are magnificent views from the terrace.
Here is a view of the Sea of Galilee from the Mount of Beatitudes.
Capernaum is on the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee. A church near Capernaum is said to have been the home of St. Peter.
Capernaum is considered to be the center of Jesus' ministry in the Galilee. Shown here are the ruins of the synagogue where Christ preached.
Tabgha is an area situated on the northwestern shore of the Sea of Galilee. It is the traditional site of the miracle of the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, Mark 6:30-46, and the fourth resurrection appearance of Jesus, John 21:1-24.
Until 1948, Tabgha was the site of an Arab village. The name is derived from the Greek name Hiptabgan, meaning 7 springs.
The Church of the Multiplication of the Loaves and Fishes is a Roman Catholic church in Tabgha.
The modern church rests on the site of 2 earlier churches.
The current shrine protects a beautiful 5th-century Byzantine mosaic floor depicting the miracle.
The Jordan River is a 251 kilometers, or 156-mile-long river flowing through the Sea of Galilee to the Dead Sea. The Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan on the east bank takes its name from this river.
In Christian tradition, Jesus was baptized in this river by John the Baptist. This is a view of the Sea of Galilee from the Raymond Resort Hotel in the Galilee. This is the breakfast area of the Raymond Resort Hotel in the Galilee.
This is the swimming pool of the Raymond Resort Hotel.
Chapter 11. Nazareth is the scene of Jesus' youth. From Ashdod to Nazareth, the distance is 90 miles or 100 minutes travel time.
The Basilica of the Annunciation in Nazareth, consecrated in 1969, is the largest Christian church in the Middle East, and is said to mark the grotto where the Archangel Gabriel appeared to the Virgin.
Located in the Basilica of the Annunciation, the Grotto of the Annunciation is a large cave, where it is said that the angel Gabriel proclaimed to Mary that she would give birth to Jesus.
Mary's Well, or the Spring of the Virgin Mary, is reputed to be the site where the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and announced that she would bear the Son of God, an event known as the Annunciation. For Eastern Orthodox members, the Church of St. Gabriel is the site of the Annunciation.
The synagogue church in Nazareth is the site where it is believed the young Jesus was taught, and where he later preached.
Chapter 12. The Dead Sea is the lowest point on Earth, at 1276 feet or 389 meters below sea level. The mineral-laden water is undrinkable and supports no life.
This shows the location of the Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea is fed by the Jordan River, and is 67 kilometers, or 42 miles long, and 18 kilometers, or 11 miles wide at its widest point.
The Dead Sea has attracted visitors from around the Mediterranean basin for thousands of years. Biblically, it was a place of refuge for King David.
The Dead Sea was one of the world's first health resorts for Herod the Great, and it has been the supplier of a wide variety of products. from bombs for Egyptian mummification to potash for fertilizers.
The salt and the minerals from the Dead Sea are used to create cosmetics and herbal sachets.
Over 1 million foreign tourists visit the Dead Sea on the Israeli side each year.
With 33.7% salinity, the Dead Sea is also one of the world's saltiest bodies of water and is 8.6 times saltier than the ocean. This salinity makes for a harsh environment in which animals cannot flourish, hence its name.
The salt water keeps even non-swimmers afloat.
Chapter 13. Herod the Great built a fortress and a palace on this tabletop mountain in 31 BC. It towers 1,450 feet, or 442 meters, above the Dead Sea. It was here that the Jewish zealots made their last stand against Roman armies during the Jewish revolt that started in 66 AD.
For 3 years, the zealots held out, with the Romans on the verge of breaching the walls in 73 AD. The zealots chose mass suicide.
From Jerusalem to Masada is 64 miles, or a little over 1.5 hours by road.
You can ascend the mountain by cable car and explore the site.
And see the ramps, the grain and bathhouses, Herod's palace and the synagogue. One of only 4 known to date from the period of the Second Temple. These are the ancient ruins at Masada.
This is the aerial cable car station at Masada. Chapter 14. Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv is the second largest city in Israel. Founded in 1909.
Located along the Mediterranean coast, Tel Aviv is a very modern metropolis with many beachfront hotels and popular swimming beaches.
This shows the location of Tel Aviv on the Mediterranean coast.
This is the modern city of Tel Aviv. Here are some of the points of interest in Tel Aviv. 1. Diaspora Museum. 2. Tel Aviv Museum of Art. 3. The beaches. 4. Land of Israel Museum. And 5. The Shalom Tawi.
A major attraction in Tel Aviv is the lengthy stretch of fine white sand beaches along the Mediterranean Sea.
Here are some major points of interest in Tel Aviv. The Diaspora Museum on the campus of Tel Aviv University is an interactive museum devoted to the history of Jewish communities around the world.
The Diaspora Museum chronicles the story of the Jewish people of Israel over the last 2,500 years.
When it opened in May 1978, this museum was regarded by many museum experts as one of the most innovative museums in the world.
This museum uses modern techniques and audiovisual displays to trace the history of communities of the Jewish diaspora through the ages and throughout the world. The exhibits convey the story of the Jewish people from their expulsion from the land of Israel 2,600 years ago to the present. The Independence Hall Museum is the former home of Meir Dizengoff, Tel Aviv's first mayor, and is where Israel's independence was proclaimed.
The Independence Hall Museum is on the historic Rothschild Boulevard and houses exhibits on the signing of the Declaration of Independence and on the history of Tel Aviv Jaffa.
The Carmel Market, or Shuk HaCarmel, is Tel Aviv's biggest and busiest marketplace, filled with colorful stalls and shouting vendors selling various goods, from dried fruits and exotic spices to clothing and footwear. Near the Carmel Market, the Nahalat Binyamin pedestrian mall has many cafes and restaurants, and typical Israeli artifacts, souvenirs and gifts.
The Shalom Meir Tower was Israel's first skyscraper. When its construction was completed in 1965, it rivaled the tallest buildings in Europe in height, and was the tallest in the Middle East. The Frederick Mann Culture Center usually referred to as the Culture Palace, is a performing arts venue that opened in 1957 and is home to the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra.
The Theater is the national theater of Israel, and one of the first Hebrew-language theaters.
The Habima Theater is in Habima Square in the center of Tel Aviv. The Haganah was a Jewish paramilitary organization in what was then the British Mandate of Palestine from 1920 to 1948, which later became the core of the Israel Defense Forces. The Haganah Museum describes the activities of the organization in the efforts to get a Jewish state.
The Helena Rubinstein Pavilion for Contemporary Art houses a comprehensive collection of classical and contemporary art, especially Israeli art, a sculpture garden and a youth wing. Rothschild Boulevard is one of the principal streets in the center of Tel Aviv, beginning in Neve Tzedek at its southwestern edge and running north to Habima Theater.
Rothschild Boulevard is one of the most expensive streets in the city, being home to exclusive shops. It is one of the city's main tourist attractions, and features a wide, tree-lined central strip. The Ben-Gurion House Museum is in the home that between 1931 and 1968 served as a residence for Israel's first defense and prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, and his family. The Tayelet is a paved beachside walkway that provides a 2 kilometers path between Tel Aviv and Jaffa.
This is another view of the Tayelet. Tel Aviv has many hotels along the Mediterranean beachfront.
Tel Aviv beaches are very popular.
This map of the Tel Aviv area shows Old Jaffa and Neve Tzedek. Neve Tzedek is the first neighborhood to be built outside the walls of ancient Jaffa. It evolved into an artist haven, and today is the home of many artists and writers.
Neve Tzedek is filled with a maze of narrow winding streets. This picturesque neighborhood is considered one of Tel Aviv's major cultural areas, where the Frederick Mann Auditorium, Helena Rubinstein Art Museum, and Israel's Habima Theater are located. The White City, or in Hebrew, Haya HaLevana.
The White City, or in Hebrew, Hayir HaLevana, refers to a collection of over 4,000 buildings built in the Bauhaus, or International style, in Tel Aviv from the 1930s by German Jewish architects, who immigrated to the British Mandate of Palestine after the rise of the Nazis.
Tel Aviv has the largest number of buildings in the Bauhaus, or International style, of any city in the world. Preservation, documentation, and exhibitions have brought attention to Tel Aviv's collection of 1930s architecture.
In 2003, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO proclaimed Tel Aviv's White City, a World Cultural Heritage Site, as an outstanding example of new town planning and architecture in the early 20th century.
The UNESCO citation recognized the unique adaptation of modern international architectural trends to the cultural, climatic, and local traditions of the city.
The Bauhaus Center of Tel Aviv organizes regular architectural tours of the city.
This is the Dan Panorama Hotel in Tel Aviv. Israel breakfasts are famous for their extensive size and variety of foods. This is the breakfast buffet at the Dan Panorama Hotel in Tel Aviv.
Chapter 15. Jaffa, an ancient port city, is believed to be one of the oldest in the world.
Jaffa was incorporated with Tel Aviv in 1950, creating the city of Tel Aviv-Yafo in Israel. Jaffa is famous for its association with the biblical story of the prophet Jonah.
St. Peter's Church is a Franciscan church in Jaffa. It was in Jaffa that the apostle St. Peter raised Tabitha from the dead.
This is Jaffa's famous clock tower landmark. Built to commemorate the silver jubilee of the reign of the Ottoman Sultan in 1906.
Chapter 16. Caesarea.
The ancient port city of Caesarea Maritima was built by Herod the Great about 25 to 13 BC to serve as an administrative center of the Judea province of the Roman Empire.
This is the Roman fief at Caesarea.
From the ancient ruins at Caesarea National Park, one can discover what life was like in the city that was once the headquarters of the Roman government in Palestine. Caesarea is now a national park and is midway between Tel Aviv and Haifa. This is the Caesarea National Park.
Israel Table of Contents.
Continued on Part 2.